Hey everybody, I'm Angie Goff, and this is the Oh My Goff Show. For nearly 2 decades, I've covered big stories and big names, whether it was reporting from the royal wedding, the Super Bowl, or sitting down with the First Lady. There's one thing I know for sure. Behind every headline is a human story, one filled with ups, downs, laughter, and life lessons. Each episode will tap into some pretty incredible minds, people who've found true success in chasing their dream or changing the world. It's the story behind the story that I hope will inspire your own. This is the Oh My Goff Show with Angie Goff.
There was no Korean Disney princess, so I decided to make my own.
This is a very, very special interview for me, and I've wanted to talk with you, Julia Riew, since I saw the first TikTok of you creating your own Korean Disney princess, because simply there isn't one. And a lot has changed since you made that post.
First off, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to meet you too. I saw the video of your daughter singing in Disney World.
On a mission, just what
And I watched it like a million times. I showed it to my mom.
What you didn't see is people stopped to watch, and they automatically were like, it's a Disney song, but which one is it? I can't place it. And I thought that was really telling.
It's honestly been such a dream come true. On just TikTok, I think that video has about 1.1 million views.
Were you surprised?
I was blown away. I posted it hoping some people would see it. I had absolutely no idea what it was going to be like. My inbox for months was like full of just parents and kids and people in Korea, people in the States who said, you know, this would mean so much to me. And
all that's left is
you see not only adults like me totally fan out and geek out, but you see these young girls, whether they're Asian American or not, just really identify with it and take with it.
Literally the week before it went viral, I remember telling my mom, like, I was home for winter break, and I said, my dream is to be walking down the street one day and hear a little kid singing my song.
You guys are not going to believe that this little girl is 10 years old.
watch me go.
That video like really changed my life in so many ways. I think mainly it's just, I feel like I really found this community that I had always really longed to be a part of. Just the way that the Korean American and Korean community sort of rallied around this song and this character and this musical just truly changed the way I see myself and I see my art, and really motivated me to keep on going and keep on making this musical.
For those that don't know you, you are a Harvard student. You are a senior at Harvard, and you are studying, you're a lyricist.
I've been composing and writing stories pretty much as long as I can remember. Really started kind of more in the classical. I was a violinist growing up, and so I started composing on violin and
Well,
piano.
let's be honest. If you're Korean, you're either a violinist or you play the piano. We had two options, didn't we?
You got a couple rare cellists or here and there, but
yes, you're right. Yes.
But you know, I grew up as a violinist. I also did children's choir, and so I started writing songs, writing music when I was seven-ish, 8-ish. Really fell in love with musical theater. And was obsessed with like Taylor Swift and Sarah Bareilles and all these female songwriters. When I came to college, I was really interested in studying theater and music and trying to be a musical theater composer lyricist. My first year of college, I had the opportunity to work on a musical where I didn't write the music or lyrics, but I wrote the book of the musical, which is the dialogue and the script, and realized that I loved that also. And so from there, I've sort of been doing all three, but actually I was actually pre-med for 2 years in college. I had a bit of an identity crisis freshman year.
Yeah, but why were you pre-med? I need to ask this right up front.
I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, where there's a 0.08% Korean population.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up, I was the only Korean person doing theater that I had ever really met. Generally, I was also the only Asian person in theater, in my theater classes and doing the musicals at school and that kind of thing. And I remember being so excited to come to Harvard on the East Coast, where there's so many more Asian people and such a diverse population, and being really surprised when I arrived here at school, finding that there's still very few Asian people doing arts on campus. And also, for the first time, I was meeting other Korean people, and I was so excited to be part of this community. And I felt, I think, in many ways that I didn't belong in the ways that I had expected to. I felt like I was really different from the others. And I think I attributed a lot of this to the fact that I wanted to be a musical theater composer, because I felt like this is impractical. This is not a typical major. And I was really embarrassed in my first year and even sophomore year to tell people that I was studying theater and music. And so, and in a lot of ways, it was this sort of problem with me feeling like I didn't belong culturally and wanting to fit in, and also being concerned that what I was doing was impractical and that it didn't have like a clear cut future. And so for those reasons, I switched into pre-med. Being pre-med was always something that I considered. I'd always kind of dreamed of maybe being a doctor. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. My father is a doctor, and so I was really inspired by him. And so I switched over, and for the next 2 years until junior year, I was pre-med. But every time I had any kind of free moment, I was always in the theater. I was procrastinating for my studying for genetics. I would write musicals, write plays, and songwrite and do, like, my way to procrastinate was by making art. And so I constantly just found myself returning to theater, returning to musical theater especially. And then my sophomore year, I co-founded an organization on campus called the Asian Student Arts Project. And it was modeled after these two clubs called Black Cast and Teatro, which were two student minority theater groups on campus. It wasn't until I came to college and really started to think about, well, what does it look like if I don't have to be the psychic? Why can't an Asian person be the main character? There was no Asian theater group. And so my friend and I, who met each other because we were the only other Asian girls in theater that we knew, founded this organization, and I wrote a musical with two friends called The East Side. And it was an original one-act comedy about our own perspective on like the Asian American experience. We sold out all 5 shows. We put it up on one of Harvard's main theaters. And from there, our club expanded from 2 people to 3 people to over 100 people on our email list. And so it sort of showed us, I think, because this was before Shang-Chi, this was before Crazy Rich Asians. It was before like any of these pieces of really powerful Asian American representation had come out. Building this community with my friends really helped me see that there is a place for us. It was never about a lack of talent or interest, but really a lack of opportunity and community and resources. Just the messages that I've gotten from people who have joined ASAP for the first time, seen the East Side or were part of it, just saying like, I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen myself on stage. I've never seen myself represented in that way. It really sort of helped me realize how important it is. And so then I switched my summer before junior year, and I have never looked back.
Oh my God. I went through the similar thing. I only applied to one college, West Point Military Academy. I'd grown up, mostly in Korea, but with a Korean mom and a military father. And I thought this was my destiny. And then I was going to be an engineer because that gave me job security. And then they realized I did not get the math gene, and I was terrible at math, and there was no way this was going to happen. And so I did something very similar. And finally, my dad's like, look, you are not doing well in these classes. We're losing money. What do you want to do? And I remember I felt embarrassed. The same thing. I don't know why there was shame. I always wrote poetry as a child. I always entered literary contests and art contests. And I loved that. I loved creating, and I loved writing stories. That's what it came down to. So I was like, I want to write. And so a counselor took me in and asked me all these questions and said, hey, I think, maybe journalism is something that you should do. And guess what? My GPA shot right up. I got all these internships. And so I consider your experience, mine, we're the lucky ones. The fact that, and I know that there's a lot that went into it, and there was a lot of ups and downs and so forth. But gosh, what we're meant to do is, I truly believe, is already within us.
The longest time, my dream has always been to write for Disney. I had this idea really early on that this is a musical that I wanted to write eventually. I wanted to write the Korean Disney princess musical. And I had always sort of had this idea that I would follow the traditional Broadway to Disney pipeline of like, do what Alan Menken did, right? All these like Stephen Schwartz and Kristen Anderson Lopez, write all these musicals, and then hope one of them gets on Broadway, and then hope they gets noticed by Disney, and it goes from there to there. And so for a really long time, I was like, there still isn't a Korean Disney princess. Maybe it's because they don't know who to choose to write the story. Maybe it's like they don't think that the talent is out there. But I want to be like, but we're here and we're here and we can tell the story. And so when I wrote the very first song for Shimchung, my senior thesis, in summer 2020, at the end of a year and a half, by like January 6th or 7th, I had a full draft of Shimchung and a full set of like 26 demos that I was really happy with. On January 7th, I texted a couple of my friends and I said, I think I'm going to try to go viral on TikTok with Shimchung and hope someone at Disney sees it. And there's a screenshot of that exact text that I sent to my friend on one of my TikTok posts.
Fish in the sea can't stop me. All of the waves in the world can't rock me. I'm on a mission in G. Just watch me go. Dive. All that's left is the dive.
Re-downloaded TikTok on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Video. And then by end of Saturday, I had 10,000 followers. Just crazy and shocking.
Did Disney see it? Has Disney seen it or acknowledged it?
So I've had some people that like, there hasn't been any like company like acknowledgement or anything like of that sort of like Disney Animation Studios. But there has been just a lot of acknowledgement sort of all around through that process, able to sign with an agent who has really, really just been helping me with navigate everything. There were tons of film producers and theater producers and some people that I really, really admire and looked up to basically my whole life that reached out that I got to meet. And
who can you say?
I got to Zoom with Ashley Park, which was like mind blowing. She played Gretchen in Mean Girls on Broadway, and I saw her. She's in Emily in Paris, and her voice is fantastic. And she's just such a role model to me as the first Korean American woman in theater that like really made a wave for us. And so I got to meet her. I got to meet Dan Povenmire, the creator of Phineas and Ferb, which was my favorite like cartoon musical show growing up. But really, I think just the biggest change has just been how I view myself, what it means to make authentic art, because for such a long time when I was writing this show, my biggest concern was that people were gonna say either it's too American or this is too Korean. Because that's how I felt a lot of the time in my life. Like I've always felt too Korean to be American, but way too American to truly fit in Korea. And that's what the musical really is about.
Theme is so universal. The feeling to belong and feel like that you belong somewhere is a battle I think that everybody goes through at one point in their life. The characters of Shimchung, there's this villain.
So the characters that existed in my original senior thesis draft musical all were inspired by characters from the original folktale. There is Shimchung, who is very closely based on my life. The story really is about what happens when you grow up away from your homeland and what happens to your identity and where do you fit in and what happens when you feel like you don't fit in and
Be fooled by the show.
And there is the Dragon Queen, who is inspired by the Dragon King. There is a completely new character named Princess Yenna. She's the Dragon Queen's daughter. Oh, that's a spoiler. There's a love interest.
You turn into Shimchung so quickly.
So basically I just start here in Snapchat and then I face the camera just as I am, and then I'll snap my fingers. Here I am.
I'll try. This. Wait, no, that's not right. This. Oh no. Look at us. Look at us.
All of the waves in the world can't rock me.
We could be sisters. We could be like the new Elsa and Anna.
Totally.
Shimchung and Angie, which is what my mom calls me.
It was just like a filter that I discovered in Snapchat.
That was never part of the plan.
It really wasn't until I realized like, wow, that would help people really visualize what this looked like.
Shimchung, get down below the deck.
Papa, where did the sun go?
Just go.
Even though we have this vision of what Shimchung will look like based off of this filter and what went viral, is that how you envision she's going to look?
I actually am really, really open not only to what Shimchung will look like, but also what the animation style will be. I think like I could see a world in which it was like Miyazaki type 2D animation. I could see a world in which it was 3D like Disney and Pixar. And so I think like my dream would just be to see it animated in any way.
dream is for a Disney princess, but are there other hopes? What's next for Shim Chong?
Take the
The show is absolutely still in development. I did my first it's called a 29-hour reading, where you develop a new musical and you put on a presentation for an invited audience. But we did 3 shows in the American Repertory Theater's Black Box Theater. But a lot of what it was just refining the characters and figuring out sort of, now that we have Shim Chong's overall arc, what is her relationship with this character? What is the villain's arc? What does she want? Why is she the way she is?
When we talk about the musical, is there a chance of seeing this on something?
There's not too much that I can say yet.
Okay.
But hopefully there will be in the future a way.
I want to come to the premiere.
Yes.
I'll wear my hanbok.
You'll have the first. Definitely I'll be yeah. There's definitely like a future for Shim Chong.
Have in your mind who you want to play Shim Chong.
My dream would be to work with Ashley Park in some capacity at some point in my life.
It sounds like the sky's the limit, and that you have a lot of options and you're more busy than ever. And we are just excited to see where this journey takes you, and to see it eventually, whether it's on the stage or on the big screen.
I certainly hope so. And thank you so much. That really means so much to me.